Hello, hello, hello. Heidi ho, and good evening, good morning, or good noon, wherever you are in the world. I see that there's already a few people um, live with me, which is awesome. And I hope you can hear me. So if you don't mind, just drop me in the chat if you can hear me. Hello, hello, Suzanne. I know your name now. I love it. Hello, so happy that you're here. Hey, Linda. So happy that you're here as well. Awesome. Hello, Heidi. Glad to see you here. Okay, everybody can hear me. Awesome. If you hear the church bells ringing, it's 7 o'clock here, and then ding, ding, ding. That's how it goes here. It's to celebrate the live session. I'm just gonna give it a little moment if people want to join, just to give it a little moment, and also to just ask, how is everybody doing? How are you doing, Suzanne, Linda, and Heidi, and everybody else whose name I don't know? So me, I am going tomorrow to Belgium for a few days. So I am mildly excited, and in a good way and in a bad way, because I really don't like leaving my animals and my better half and my home, because I'm a like that kind of person who likes to be at home with a tea and a little blanket and books. That's me. You wouldn't say that I used to sing in a metal band. So while I'm gently waiting or starting, I just want to introduce this session. So today we're going to talk about if you've tried Bach Flower Remedies and they didn't work for you, here's why. And so today we're going to have a look at what might happen. What are the reasons that people don't have any effect at all, or maybe you don't have the effect you wanted. Maybe you feel even worse. It can happen that you don't feel good at all after taking the remedies. I know that's not a good advertisement, but we have to be honest here. So I'll explain why that is. I will also explain something about expectations and mistakes to avoid. Because this is just, I think, the most important thing when you're working with remedies is, well, you're doing it to feel better. And if you're a little bit like me and you've tried a lot of things and things that didn't work, and you kind of put your hopes up, or you get your hopes up, and then you try, and again, it doesn't work. And I can tell you hand on heart that Bach Flower Remedies are extremely potent. They are very gentle, but they are very powerful. But I also didn't immediately have results, or I wasn't aware of them, or they were maybe different than I expected. And so it was only until I revisited, or I understood something, that I could really see the effects of it. Now, clearly, obviously, there are remedies that work immediately. Some people are also very sensitive to them. And Rescue Remedy is designed to work immediately. It's not designed to, if you're in an emergency, you don't want that a rescue works in 3 weeks. You need help right now. But that is a little bit different. And it's also sort of an exception, let's say. Now, that said, it is very possible that if you take a remedy that you have effect immediately. Sometimes you really do feel effect immediately. And sometimes you can have a problem that can really be solved very easily and very, very fast. I have a very funny story actually to tell about that. Heidi, I'm also really excited for this. So if anyone has some questions at any point, just feel free to drop them in the chat. I have the chat open, so I'll definitely have a look at it here and there. So excuse me. My little story here, I'm going to try to make it short. So I was taking the remedy Mimulus for known fears because I needed to drive in a big city, and it made me a little bit nervous. So my known fear was driving in a city. And completely unrelated story, I had a nurse coming to my place to give me vitamin B injections. And I had a phobia for spiders. I know this sounds really, really random, but stay with me. And when the nurse rang my door, I wanted to open, and I saw that there was a huge brown house spider on the door. And I was like, no, well, I didn't really, you know, I had previously a phobia. I think my cat wants to go in the basket. I'm gonna give her a little hand. You want to go in the basket? Oh, yeah, come, Clea. In the middle of the live session. I love cats. They just don't care. Hi. Yeah, you good there, baby? Okay. Look at that. Isn't she cute? Hey, little baby. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. That was very important. Clea in the box. Okay, so I opened the door nevertheless, despite of that phobia, and I just didn't really have that kind of scare anymore. And I wonder what happened. And what happened was simply that I took Mimulus for a known fear, in my case, the fear of driving, but it also had worked on my fear of spiders. And just having had this fear of spiders, the stero, it was really a phobia. I've had that phobia for, oh my God, you're so cute. I mean, look at this. Oh, baby. Yeah, you're sweet. Okay, professional. I mean, what can you do with cats? They're just too cute. In any case, I had this phobia since ever. And then without really even working on it, it disappeared. So, because I took remedy Mimulus for known fears. And Mimulus doesn't really discern between fear of chickens or fear of dogs or fear of spiders, fear of public speaking. So it had erased unintentionally my intense phobia of spiders. Like I would cry and yell and scream, and I would call someone to get rid of the spider. And now I just opened the door and forgot about it. So, just to show you how powerful they are, how fast they can work, and how insanely deeply they can work, from having a crazy phobia until just forgetting about that crazy spider was there. Yeah, she is very cute. And she's really very cute, so innocent. So today I want to encourage you to not give up if remedies don't work. And I want to clarify a few things. So if maybe you are a pure beginner and you want to avoid the common pitfalls, this is a really great session for you because you can avoid certain things. Maybe you have already worked with Bach Flower Remedies recently or for a long time, but you just don't really have the results that you really wanted or expected. That is also great for you. Or maybe you're a practitioner who's working with your clients and you don't always get the results you want. So it's actually a really very valuable lesson for everybody, I would say. And so the first reason that things don't work is extremely simple. It is just simply consistency. You need to take the drops 4 times per day, 4 drops every day for 2 to 3 weeks minimum, in my opinion. And well, it's not always the case. Sometimes you have something coming up suddenly, you take the remedy for that and it goes away. But I'm talking if you're really working on yourself on long-term issues that you have. If I would have taken 1 drop of Mimulus or 4 drops of Mimulus 4 times per day for one day and I would have stopped, nothing would have happened. Because you have to consider you're working with a vibrational energy. So it doesn't just suddenly change everything, it gently kind of raises your vibration. So if you just take these remedies once, then it raises your vibration not enough to really have a clear effect. It will have an effect, but it's just so small that you wouldn't notice it. So you need to really be consistent. If I would tell you, I'm a herbalist as well, you're very nervous, how about you start drinking chamomile tea and you drink 3 cups per day for, I don't know, about 3 or 2 weeks. If you would just drink 1 cup of chamomile tea, you wouldn't suddenly feel less stressed. Maybe in that moment it would work a little bit and you would maybe fall asleep a little bit faster, but it wouldn't really do that much. And it's the same with this vibrational, I have to be careful to say medicine here, but vibrational healthcare from nature, let's call it that way. And so you need to really take them consistently. Now, there's other ways of taking remedies that are very valuable. Putting them in the bath water. There is making, putting them on the body. There's all sorts of things that we can do. But if you really, really, really want to have a good result, the fastest as possible, without doing a quick fix kind of stuff, you need to really be consistent in ingesting them. And a lot of people ask me, well, why 4 drops? And can I do three drops 6 times per day? That really doesn't matter that much. We just take four times per day because it's sort of a, let's say, threshold, and it's easy to remember. So if you want to take it 5 times per day, 3 drops, or 3 drops per day 5 times, that is also fine. But just, be consistent. And so let me see my notes because I don't want to miss anything. Yeah, I wrote down the remedy will meet you where you are, or you are willing to go with them. So if you are, I always say that you also have to do something here. It's they can be marvelous and they can really be extremely powerful, and they can just fix things quite fast, but very often also require some work on your behalf. So if you don't take them, well, they will only work so much. Um, so that's what I also want to say. Most people hardly notice it. So that's why you need to be consistent, because if you only take them for a really, really small time, well, your vibration will raise a little bit and then you wouldn't notice it. And that actually brings us to point number 2, which is expectation. So some people, especially people who've never heard about them, maybe people who don't really know or didn't try that much yet in the holistic healthcare, let's say, they maybe have different expectations. They maybe expect, oh, I feel very sad. If I take these Bach flowers, I have to feel something immediately. But that's often not the case. So it's very, and I'm just going to have a look. Good to know, part of my 30-day plan. Yes, definitely. Sometimes you need to take them a little bit longer. I have sometimes had remedies that I need to take a little bit longer, but after, let's say, one bottle that you make for yourself, which is about 3 weeks, you must feel sort of a difference. It's very rare that someone doesn't feel any difference, unless everything that I'm going to explain here later. So expectations. So sometimes people, they don't really know what to expect, and they expect sort of a pill effect, quick fix, and that is also just not how it works. Just because they are so gentle, which is for some people very annoying, but that is also where they are so powerful. Imagine that you are very bad at saying no to people. You're a people pleaser, and you would just take the remedies for one day, and suddenly you're just like, no, not doing this anymore, salut, bye, not my problem. I mean, that would have, if you just suddenly completely changed everything, that would have a bad effect, I think, because you're not prepared for this, your environment is not prepared for this, and everybody would probably think that you're suddenly going mad. So the remedies are so powerful because they work deeply, but they gently prepare you every day a little bit more. So they do require a little patience sometimes. They also, they work on layers. So it's not like you wake up one day, you want to have more self-confidence and you're shy, and then you wake up and you're suddenly a completely different person. That's not how they work. And I would actually say that they don't change you, they make you more yourself. So let me see what I want to say here. Yeah, for instance, so because of people think about the pill effect, but let's assume that you take Mimulus, you have a certain fear. Mimulus doesn't take your fear away, but it does give you courage. So it always gives you kind of the opposite of what you're trying to get rid of. And the thing with that is that if you have more courage, then you will feel less fear. So the end result is that you have less fear, but it's not because magically something has been erased from your life. It's simply because you have more courage. So that's how they really work. If you lack self-confidence, they won't take all your obstacles away. They don't make you more capable. They just give you more sense of, hey, I can do this. Um, so I also want to mention here that when you take them for a specific goal, let's just give an example. Imagine that you want to end a relationship. Sometimes people want help with something and they really hope that the remedies somehow have an effect on the outer world in that way. But they're not going to make you leave that relationship. They're going to help you see things clear, have the courage, have self confidence, trust your intuition, and that will help you make the decision on your terms. So they won't do things for you. You are still at the driver's seat. Um, Let me give another example. Imagine that you don't really have great boundaries. You're struggling with boundaries. So for one person, they would prefer to be a little bit more dominant and a bit more fierce. But if that's not in your character, they're not going to make you more dominant and fierce. They're not going to change you. They're going to make you more you. So if it's in your character to be soft, maybe what they're going to do for you is that they're going to give you the gift of soft clarity. That's also a way to assert you. So you might think, I want to have a bigger mouth and I want to, be louder and express myself, more aggressively. Well, maybe they just make you more clear. And so they're equally as good, there's none better or worse. They're just working with who you are and not changing you. Um, the other thing is the next point 3, is almost the opposite. So in point 2, there's almost the expectation of, I will suddenly be completely different. Suddenly I will be like this, and suddenly I will be like that. And with people kind of want to become someone else as fast as possible. I don't want to have scare anymore. I want to have that confidence. But with point number 3, somehow the opposite happens. So people don't want to change. And this can hinder really how you work with the remedies and also how you perceive the outcome of the remedies. So sometimes I have people who are asking me, who are in very difficult relationships, and they ask me in a way if I can help them with the remedies to cope with their abuse. They're explaining the difficulty of their relationships, but they don't want to leave. Or maybe they want to, but they don't have the courage. And very often people don't ask me, I want to leave, but I don't have the courage. They say something in the trend of, I don't know how to cope with this. And so they're almost expecting the remedies to help them, give them more stamina to stay in a certain situation. So they don't want to go, they don't want to leave. Probably because they're scared, and it is scary. Now, the remedies will absolutely not give you the stamina to stay in an unbearable situation. They're not going to do that. But they're also not going to make you leave. That's up to you. They are going to give you the clarity to make good choices. They are going to give you a healthy set of, or a healthy sense of boundaries. They are going to give you the courage. They're going to take that sense of responsibility and guilt away that is holding you back. But they will not give you the stamina to stay in a good situation, and they will, in a bad situation, better said, they can give you the stamina to pull through in a situation where you need to pull through, but they won't help you stay in a bad situation. And they will not make the decision for you to leave. That is totally up to you. So that's the beautiful thing about the remedies. They won't force you into doing something you don't want to. Very often, people ask me about a grimony. A grimony is the remedy for blocking your own emotions. So you're sometimes blocking your own emotions to surface from yourself and the communication towards others. So let's say you're uncomfortable with something at your work, but you don't want to say it because you don't want to get fired, or you don't want that people, look at you strangely. You don't want to be the annoying person, or you don't want to worry other people. And sometimes people know that they need agrimony, but they're so scared. They're like, what if I just say something that I. And of course, sometimes we have a pent up energy or pent up stress or a pent up anger. And in that case, you can take cherry plum to kind of guide that explosive sense of explosion a little bit more. But agrimony is not going to force you to say something. If you're saying something, or if you get upset, or if you just communicate better, then that is because that is your will doing that. It's not the remedies who are going to make you do something that you don't want. Um, so the remedies, they won't do it for you, but they will walk with you through any door. And that's the beautiful thing. Let me have a look at point 4. Yeah, layers. This is a really important one. And this is one of the most difficult things to work on with Bach Flower Remedies, I think. So we all have layers of emotions. Maybe you are working on years of defensiveness. And then when you work on that, you find that under that there's suddenly sadness. And then you work on your sadness, and then under that there is suddenly guilt. And under that there's grief. And under that there's just a child who wanted to be loved. So when you are working on these layers of emotions, it might expose another layer of emotions. And that can be very painful. So some people, when they work with remedies, the whole point is to feel better, and often you will feel better, but sometimes at some other point you will see that you have another feeling because, well, life, there's maybe another problem or another emotion, another aspect of you that you didn't really understand or see. Bach Flower Remedies also bring awareness. So you might become aware of another layer. As one layer doesn't take full space anymore, maybe you'll notice, oh, I do have a problem here that I wasn't aware of. And so very often people feel like they're doing it wrong because they're feeling worse. So it's very important that you don't judge your feelings. Just sit with them. Just see what is going on. See what they want to show you. And I wouldn't say analyze yourself. Just notice your feelings. Because emotions, they don't just vanish. If you have been feeling angry for years and then at some point you get over it, or you've been feeling guilty for years, these feelings don't just evaporate. So it might be that if you're solving some of your emotional problems or traumas or feelings, thoughts, behavioral patterns, that something else resurfaces. And that can be painful indeed. Let me give you a good example. Star of Bethlehem. I think that's really the best one that I can pick. So, Star of Bethlehem is really the remedy for trauma. If you have stuck trauma, if something in your life has happened, even very long in your childhood, even karmic aspects from your ancestors. So, let's say I had something happening to me in my childhood and I wasn't really able to cry and to do anything with that. But time goes by, life happens, you suck it up, you go to work, you do your job, you have a family. And somehow this thing still has an impact on you and you kind of know it. This is something most people know semi-consciously. And you start taking Star of Bethlehem, or you know that you had trauma happening to you and you never really did anything with it, even if you feel fine right now. You start taking Star of Bethlehem. What often happens is that suddenly people feel sad and want to cry. And then, of course, and I understand that they are worried to say, whoa, I feel, I'm crying now. This is not good. But crying is actually releasing your emotions. So that stuck trauma is getting released, and physically as well. So don't be alarmed if something like that happens. Some people use Bach Flower Remedies for kind of more surface level things. They have just something in their life that bothers them, that is just taking a little bit too much space. But most of us, we have a whole backpack of stuff. And I say this with love and with I smile because we also have to put things in perspective. It's fine, it's good to work on all that, so that's not a problem. But be aware that sometimes layers can be exposed and they need to be worked on, and that can be yeah a healing journey, which is almost never, there's never really an end point. But it can come, of course, with some painful feelings. And this is a problem that we have, that most people give up. When these painful feelings surface, they think I'm doing it wrong, or I don't want to do this, and then they give up. So I will really, really try to motivate you to not give up, to just pull through, and to take a little bit of distance from your feelings. Your feelings come and go, they don't define you. They're just a part of you, they're just a signal, almost like a headache. You have a headache, it wants to tell you something. And these feelings aren't there forever. They are not us, they don't define us, or we shouldn't let them define us. So don't give up. And of course, you have my help. Join the Remedy Circle. There is I will put a link under the video when it goes, what is it called? When it goes, YouTube converts it at some point. Let me just put the link there as well already. For those who are here who haven't yet joined, you can join for free if you want to be part of this community. Don't give up. Just, this is so important that you understand that you're not doing it wrong. Number 5, the issue that we also, which is I think the most common thing why Bach flowers don't work, or why we think that they don't work, is something called the awareness blind spot. Some people, they say, wow, I immediately feel these remedies. I consider myself a pretty good practitioner. I most of the time don't feel them immediately, and that's fine too. I need some time. I need to take them a little while. And then I look back and I say, hey, I don't do that anymore. I don't worry like that anymore. I don't think like this anymore. I don't feel like this anymore. Or I see myself in a situation reacting differently. And sometimes you don't even notice it in the situation. It's only when you look back. And that's completely fine. But it is very often the case that we are unaware. We are unaware of these changes because they are vibrational in nature and they work on the astral body. So they work on the thoughts, the feelings, the aura, the chakra. And we haven't really been trained to feel. I mean, half of the time I don't even know what I'm feeling. I really need to focus on what I'm feeling so many things at the same time. So we're not really used to sitting with ourselves and to understand ourselves. It's just not part of the curriculum of life for most. We have to kind of become a little bit more skillful at that. And so if you feel that for some reason Bach flower remedies are not working and you've been consistent and all of that, then just try to have a look at what you're working on and see in hindsight if they really didn't work. Maybe your expectations were a little bit off. Or maybe you see that they have worked. For instance, I have a really good example of one of my clients who was very, very worried and scared to go to work because he had a really dominant boss, let's say. And so we worked on with Bach Flower Remedies on that. And I asked him a little bit later, how do you feel, after 5 weeks? I always take 5 weeks so we can kind of have, let's say, one treatment bottle is about, if you take it consistency, you do about 3 weeks with it, but I always take a week extra. So if people miss it a little bit, and then I take a week extra so people have the time to assess and to look back. And so after 5 weeks, we spoke together and I asked him, how are you feeling now? And he said, oh, I'm so great. And I had holidays and I have a girlfriend now. My brother came to visit me and he brought me some gifts and it's good weather. And all of that was great, but it didn't answer the question, do the Bach flower remedies work? Did we give you the right remedies? And so I brought him back to the question and say, you had trouble going to work. You felt very worried every day. How do you feel about that now? And he said, yeah, no, I don't really think that they work because I don't really remember when I was scared to go to work. And that was the exact moment when he realized that he wasn't scared anymore to go to work. And so I wanted to be sure if the remedies had worked, because of course he felt better because he had holidays and his girlfriend and, but I wanted to assess if the remedies were working. So I specifically asked for that. So this is something that you can do for yourself. Look at what you're working and ask yourself for exactly that situation, the feeling or the question or the situation. How do I feel about that now? Do I still do that? Do I still have disputes with this person? Do I react differently? Do I notice something else? And very often you are going to see, yes, something has changed. And if you don't find the change going far enough yet, then you can reassess yourself. Do I need more of this remedy? Do I maybe need another remedy? Whatever you need. There is really no wrong answer. Bear in mind that you can really not do anything wrong in the sense of if you take the wrong remedy, nothing happens. Let's assume that you are a very patient person and you take impatience for impatience. Nothing will happen. So don't be scared. Your life doesn't depend on this. I mean, in a way, yes, because it can really change your life immensely. And I'm the result of that, or I'm the proof of that. Better said, not the result, the proof. But they are extremely powerful, and you're not doing something irreversible in the sense of if you don't need chicory or you don't need a remedy against fear and you will still take it, well, then it can only help you be even more courageous, or it will do nothing. So don't worry too much about that. Keep that worry already out of your head. Let me have a look. um yeah, that's the problem, or well, that's a good thing with remedies. They don't leave with drama or with your problems won't disappear with drama and with fireworks. They go away gently, or you react differently gently. So when something disappears, it also disappears from your consciousness, so you don't even remember that it was a problem. We get used to comfort and discomfort very, very quickly. And the remedies, they ask to be witnessed. But if you're not there, if you're not witnessing it, you don't even know that they are working half of the time. So take some time to 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 be very aware with yourself. And that's a skill too. It doesn't always happen immediately. And obviously, sometimes you will take a remedy and you will immediately feel a big difference, or you'll just see a situation disappearing and you'll be like, okay, yeah, clear. But sometimes it's much milder than that. And once you really understand how they work, or once you have that kind of feeling of, this is what they do, or this is how they work, then you kind of understand better what to pay attention to. And that will be very helpful. Because I've taken so many remedies, I really know what to pay attention to, and I understand how exactly they work. And once you understand that, it will be much easier to witness that. I'm just going to have a look at the chat. If a person has anxiety because of a lot of trauma in the childhood, how long would you say she could take the remedies? Will the remedies actually heal the anxiety or make it easier to handle it? That's a very good question, Heidi. Um, so, in case of, for instance, anxiety and trauma, I would definitely take something for and anxiety. For instance, mimulus, if the anxieties are really known. Aspen, if the anxieties are rather vague, if there's more sense of dread and foreboding and an expectation of something going wrong. And I would also take Star of Bethlehem for trauma. Um, there is not really a time that you need to stop taking the remedy. So I have once taken a remedy, Star of Bethlehem, for half a year, and it worked already after 3 to 4 weeks. But I personally felt that it would benefit me more after all that I've been through, that if I would take it longer. And I think it has benefited me greatly to work longer with them. Now, I couldn't tell you if after 2 or 3 or maybe 4 months I could have stopped, if I should have continued longer. You kind of feel like, okay, I feel that something has changed now. And so you can take them really as long as you want. You can sometimes take remedies a few days and you're good. In case of trauma, I would recommend in general to take them longer. Um, because trauma is not just like I'm upset about something today. I can take Holly. You can also obviously have rage coming from a long-term situation, and you would take it longer. But there's not really a limit on the amount of time you need to take it. So if you want to try it, you can start with 3 to 4 weeks, or if this person wants to try it. And if you feel or they feel that maybe it's better to continue a little bit more, just continue until you feel that it served the purpose. So don't worry about that. They're not addictive, they're not dangerous. You can't have sort of a build-up or something like, oh, now I need to take them more. That doesn't happen neither. So there's nothing really that you can do wrong with that. And will the remedies actually heal the anxiety or make it easy to handle it? Well, the thing is that if you are anxious, it won't get rid of your anxiety in that way as we might think. It gives you courage. But the feeling you have, or at least from my experience and from the experience of my clients, is that you have less anxiety. But that's because you have more courage. So the whole point of Mimulus is that you feel less anxiety, and you do feel less anxiety. For instance, with my spiders, I just didn't I don't have that phobia anymore. I'm not really fan of spiders. I wouldn't put them on my head, or maybe I would, but depending on if they are cute or not. But I wouldn't really, I'm not it's not I don't really love them per se. But going from crying and not being able to sleep in my own house, and drama, going to, okay, I just opened the door and I forgot about that spider. I maybe wouldn't have taken it in my hand. But that is like a really big difference. Now, for my feeling, if someone would ask me, how do you feel, I would say, oh, I don't feel anxious about it anymore. Even if that anxiety, I think the anxiety disappears because the courage was raised, simply. And so it will make it easier to handle it, but it might be that the anxiety in a way just disappears, that fear just isn't there anymore. So I hope that was a helpful answer to your question. Else you can let me know if you want that I clarify something. Where were we? Awareness. Okay, point number 6. Yes, stopping too early. This is also a common mistake. Some people stop far too early. There is often a lot of work that can be done, but people often come with one core problem or one situation. And then what happens is, most of the time you come in contact with Bach Flower Remedies in a crisis situation, or you're maybe a person who wants to learn a lot, you're maybe in holistic healthcare. But very often, as a client, let's say, you come in contact with Bach Flower Remedies or a practitioner when you are in sort of a crisis. And so what happens is, when you start taking Bach Flower Remedies, your biggest problems most of the time get solved quite easily. And that gives you that big wow moment, like, whoa, that was amazing. I want to go further. So either people stop because their problem is solved and there's so much more that can be done, or what happens is that they work further, but as you work on deeper layers of yourself, they just become more gentle. So, for instance, in my course, we start by working with the outer layer, the things that are very painful: anxiety, desperation. And so it doesn't make sense to work on grounding yourself more when you are in a complete shock and trauma. And so we start working with what takes the most space, and then you can refine yourself. Now, if you are working on the more obvious problems you have, which is what you're going to do first because they're the most painful and it makes the most sense and they are the most obvious, and it will be, such a relief if that is solved. What happens is that when you work on the deeper layers of the self, they are deeper, they are more subtle. The result will be more subtle. So maybe you don't feel like, oh, what a relief, I don't feel that hopelessness anymore. But maybe you are, for instance, someone who doubts themselves a lot. And then when you don't have that self-doubt anymore, just less loud than a great terror, if you're in terror and anxiety all the time, that is solved. The difference is much more loud than if you're suddenly more confident about yourself. So people sometimes just stop because the deeper you go, the subtler it becomes. And sometimes you need to practice that self-awareness a little bit, or it also you have these, like, let's say, spiritual organs that we don't really practice in this society. Sometimes you become a little bit more practiced in noticing all these subtle signals. Number 7 is staying on the surface. This is a little bit similar, but not fully. A lot of people start with Bach Flower Remedies through rescue remedy. They, like I say, they start in a crisis, they have a problem, they start with rescue. It's amazing, and then they stop. Now, this is great because it's better to take rescue and stop than to not take rescue. But this is very often where people's knowledge or interest stops. They don't know that remedies can work on guilt. They can work on if you worry for others' well-being. They can work on self-doubt. If you're constantly asking others, what would you do if you were me? If you're doubting between two decisions. If you are so dreamy that you never ground your projects in reality. Or maybe you feel very melancholic and you can't move on in life. So they are really tapping into the, let's say, 38 basic human feelings that everybody understands or knows. If you are too dominant, maybe you talk too much and you kind of feel lonely, you cling on to people. Maybe you feel lonely because you can't connect with people. So these are all fields where Bach Flower Remedies are working on. And I mean, that's just amazing. The level of emotional depth that you can work on with yourself goes far further, of course, than Rescue Remedy. So it's very nice that Rescue Remedy is an entry point, but I hope that it doesn't stay there for you. Just gonna have a look at the chat. What would help a blown up ego personality, narcissistic personality? Yeah. So if someone is really, just a little side note, if someone is really narcissistic, I don't know how much and if Bach Flower Remedies will help. I think they will, but I think they will need a lot of it for a long time. So not a lot more often, because remedies, as some people already know, they don't work with how much you take of them, but how often you get the impulse. And so there's, of course, a difference between really a narcissistic personality disorder or someone with narcissistic traits. So just to make it easy here, we're going to talk about a person with narcissistic traits. So a good remedy for someone like that, there's a few, but would, for instance, be chicory. Chicory is a remedy for people who are, always trying to mingle in your affairs. They're manipulative in the sense that they want your attention and they can make you feel guilty. So we call it the classic mother-in-law, attitude. They bring you soup, but you didn't ask for it, and then you need to say thank you 50,000 times. Sorry for all the mother-in-laws here. I'm sure some of you are awesome. I don't doubt that. But you know what I mean. This attitude is a sort of manipulative attitude clinging and trying to get attention and trying to get your sympathy and trying to be part of something, feeling hurt when you're not part of something, when you're not invited, taking things too personal. So that is a part of a narcissistic personality, the manipulation and the gaslighting and making you feel guilty. Another good one here is Vine, because a Vine personality is extremely dominant, but so dominant that they don't ask you anymore. Like, they don't try to convince you, they just tell you what to do. And so, narcissistic people or people with narcissistic traits in general, they don't really care to ask you how you feel about things. They'll just tell you this is how it goes and no comment. So these are the two main Bach Flower remedies that I would consider very suitable here. What can also sometimes work, depending on the traits, is a remedy like Heather, because narcissistic people, they can, and Heather is actually it, like, it's kind of strange to mention Heather here because Heather has a lot of beautiful properties and it's a remedy that's very often forgotten. I was on Heather recently because I was always behind my cat, like, oh, and I noticed that I did that because I wanted to feel loved, so I took Heather. So you can use Heather in a lot of different contexts, but you can also use it in this context because a narcissistic personality wants to always have attention. They always want to be talked about. They always want to be the center of attention. Even if they have nothing to say, they will still say it, and everybody needs to listen. And you just, it's very difficult to get away from them. And you need to affirm that they are there and that they did great, or that they had the worst life, or that they are the best. And so Heather is the remedy that helps with that. So chicory, what did I say now? Vine and Heather are the three remedies that I would recommend there. Hello, made easier. Good evening, or maybe it's not evening where you are. And I have the last point here. Did I say everything I wanted to say? Oh yeah, so staying on the surface. So I mean, if you take on emotions from someone else, for instance, you need things like aspen and walnut. And if you feel guilty, you need pine. So if you just stay with rescue remedy, you're missing on all these other parts of yourself that maybe need a little bit of attention. So that's the last thing I wanted to say about that. And I just have one point left. And I see that's good because I talked good. I should take Heather. Yeah, the last one is timing and the remedy puzzle. And I think this one is obvious. We need to take the right remedy at the right time. Sometimes you see that. Let me try to give you an example. If someone says, I am scared to I'm scared to make a choice because, I don't want to fail this. What most people do is they take the cue. Scared, fear is mimulus. And mimulus isn't wrong here. Mimulus is a good remedy for known fears. What the person is really saying is, I'm scared to fail, which could be a lack of confidence, which is also large. And maybe they say something like, I just don't trust that I make good decisions. That could maybe be Serato, self-doubt about your own decisions. And so sometimes we are incomplete in our remedy blend, or maybe we hear a word, but then we take the remedy that matches the word, but we're kind of missing the point. So you need to kind of read between the lines a little bit. Fear is everything is fear-based in a way, or a lot of remedies are fear-based. If I need a remedy for people-pleasing, Centauri, this is also fear-based because I'm scared that I will disappoint someone. I'm scared to say no, but I wouldn't take the remedy Mimulus in this case. I would take Centauri for boundaries, for assertion, self-assertion. So sometimes it's just that the remedy puzzle hasn't really been done as good as it could be done. And so this is something that you sometimes it's very easy. You just feel something and you pair it with the right remedy. And sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but the more you work with the remedies and the more you understand them, the easier it is. And what has helped me a lot as well is knowing them by heart. Now, if you start, you don't need to know all 38 remedies by heart, but it can help you because, I don't need to go and read them. I know this is for that and this is for that. And you just kind of start to understand them more and more. You see them in other people, you see them on things on television or in the news or whatever. And this is actually a nice exercise to just to help you understand them a little bit better. Now, if you need more help with that, you can obviously contact me for a one-on-one consultation where I will help you with your own personalized remedy mix. And further, I also made an online class called Bloom into Balance, which is a self-paced class where you learn to understand yourself better, to learn what Bach Flower Remedies are, what all of these 38 remedies are, how you make your own remedy blend, how to choose the remedies correctly in different ways by looking at your feelings, maybe by using an index. It could be working with symbols, working with your intuition. And I give a little bit of my own, let's say, and I don't want to sound egotistical, but more of a kind of a wisdom that I acquired during the years from my own experience working with myself or with clients or with students and so on and so on. So it's more kind of an advice that I give there. And so I recommend doing that because, this is not to become a practitioner. This is really something to help you heal your emotions and your life, which you can use for the rest of your life for yourself and your family. And there we also do live sessions. And of course, you also have some support from me as well. And if that interests you, I can put the link here. I will also put it under the description. And feel free to have a look there. And I said everything that I wanted to say. So I'm going to have a look at the chat if someone has questions. I find it really hard to apologize. I really hate being wrong. I laugh, but because it's kind of cute that you say it. I think. I think everybody hates being wrong. No, don't be hard on yourself. You find it hard to apologize. You hate being wrong. Is there a sense of shame? Is that why you hate it? Do you feel embarrassed when you are wrong? Then, for instance, crab apple would be good because crab apple is really the remedy for if you feel something is wrong with you or you did something wrong or yes, okay, well, crab apple is your remedy. So that will help you with a sense of shame or, I didn't do something good or I made a mistake. Sometimes pine for guilt or feeling overly responsible can also help if you feel very responsible and so you find it difficult to make mistakes and it's kind of upsets you, but there's more of a maybe an anger towards yourself or I'm not dealing good with this. But yeah, crab apple sounds about right. I hope that was helpful. Hi, what advice would you give for feeling overwhelming fear in making big decisions, deciding between 2 or 3 different options? Thanks. That is a really good question. And this is very interesting because you give a textbook cue for a remedy. Let me explain. So, feeling overwhelming fear. So, a lot of people say overwhelm, that's elm. But let's have a look at what is said here. So, overwhelming fear in making big decisions. Fear for making decisions, and if you know exactly what you want to avoid in these decisions, then Mimulus will be a good option. However, what I think would be an even better option, so you can probably make a blend, adding Mimulus, is large, because large is the remedy for fear of failure, if you're scared to move forward, scared of doing the wrong thing. And what I would also add is you specifically say deciding between two or three different options is exactly the remedy sclerantes. So sclerantes is literally when you can't make decisions and you go back and forth between multiple decisions. And if you somehow feel that you that you know it, that you know what you want, but then you kind of outside information makes you doubt again, then I would also add Serato. So I hope that that was helpful as well. I don't see any other questions anymore. So if someone has a question, feel free to go for it. Instead of taking 4 drops every 4 hours, can I add the florals to a bottle of water and drink through the day? Say 1 liter. Should I then add 16 drops? Yes, you can definitely do that. I think that is often the easiest thing because then you don't even have to think about it. Even if sometimes I think it's good to be a little bit aware of it when you're drinking it. But this is a very good way to take remedies. You simply have a liter of water, you add 4 drops is still fine. Even 2 drops would be fine. But, in a liter of water, let's say you add 4 drops of the one remedy you want, or if you have more remedies, you add 4 drops of every remedy to a liter of water. And you sip throughout the day. That's perfect. Yeah, no problem with that at all. This is a very good way to do it. So you don't need to add 16 drops because it's not really about the amount. I mean, obviously, if we're gonna have a 5 liter, bottle, then 2 drops would maybe be a little bit, maybe not enough. But when you are working with a liter, normally 2 drops is still fine. But if you really want to be sure to have, full power there, let's go for 4 drops. So you don't need to add 16 drops. 4 drops is totally fine. Is there anyone else who wants to ask something? I also want to mention this is for now the last stream that I'm doing because I just wanted to try it out. I've never done that before. I'm too old for YouTube somehow. No, not too old for YouTube, but um, and I didn't know if people would attend or how I would feel about it, and I actually really like it. I enjoy it. So for now, this would be the last session, but I am probably going to come back to that at some point, and I can't say if that would be in 2 weeks or I'm going to Belgium tomorrow for a few days, so probably next Wednesday I don't think I will do a live session, but I will probably get back to that at some point. Maybe not every week, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe every week for a moment. I have no idea. But if you wanna be, how can I say that? If you wanna get notified, then feel free to join the Remedy Circle for free, where every time there's a live session, there is it's mentioned there. Hi, is there a remedy to focus on oneself, not on others? Absolutely. The remedy that I would recommend here is walnut. Walnut is often seen as the remedy for change, but that is really because it's the remedy for self protection. Because when everything around you is changing, you kind of want to stay, in your own energy field and you want to stick to your decisions and to who you are. But what walnut really does is protecting your own energy. So if you feel that somehow the outside world or people are interfering a little bit too much and you kind of just want to stay focused on what you are doing, walnut is a really, really good remedy. It's really the remedy of energetic protection. If I can widen it a little bit, depending, maybe you won't need this at all. But if you, for instance, are trying to work on your um, fate, you want to find your own path, you want to find out what is your meaning here, why are you here, what kind of future do I have to follow, maybe it's a job, maybe I want to do a family, whatever it really is for you. If you want to discover that and hang on to that, then a remedy like wild oat is also really good, because it helps you focus on your meaningful path and to stay there. Thank you for this live talk. It was very, very educational and helpful. You're very, very welcome, dear Suzanne. Always so happy to see you. And I'm glad it was helpful. Yes, I agree. Very helpful. Thank you so much, Heidi. I'm glad. Yeah, if someone wants to suggest a theme for the next time, I'm totally open to that, because I really want that this is useful for you. Alex, hello again. Thank you so much. Have a lovely time away and look forward to the next live when you are able. That's very sweet. And I'm looking forward to it as well, actually. Oh, goeie reis. That's so funny. Yes, that's so sweet. Safe journey. Thank you so much for giving your time and expertise so freely. It's my pleasure. And thank you so much for being here with me. And thank you always for your sweet comments as well. I'm very, very grateful for everybody's return on what I'm doing, and the sharing and the comments, and you're all very, very sweet and grateful, and that you're working on yourself in such a beautiful, courageous way. It's amazing. I'm very, very glad to be a part of this, and I'm very glad that you are all a part of this as well. Linda, thank you. Well, thank you as well. It's always great to see you, and you're very diehard, just like Suzanne. I don't know if Victoria's here, because I know there was a I couldn't, or Judith, that there was something with the login, and I have to figure that still out. How do people how do they make their login name, or if they can comment if they're not logged in, or things like that. I'm a disaster with technology and everything, but I made it here. That's something. Thank you very much. Well, thank you as well. It was a pleasure to be here with you this evening. And if no one has any other thing to mention or to ask, I would say I'm going to wish you all a very pleasant evening, a very nice day, very good morning, wherever you are. Thank you so much, and wish you all the best. Yeah, thank you too. It was a pleasure to be here with you, and I'm surely going to do some more live sessions soon. So, oh yeah, let me just share this one more time. For those who want to join the Remedy Circle, if you want to be updated about when I do live sessions or not, you can find that here, and obviously on my YouTube channel here. There is some kind of a little tab called live, and if there is a live, you can find me there, and you can even get notified, so that you will have a little message when I go live. So thank you so much, everybody. It's kind of unusual to have people listening for an hour of their free time to something so mysterious as Bach Flower Remedies. I'm always really happy to talk about it, and I'm always very happy to share things, and I'm very happy when people are as enthusiastic as I am. So very, very happy to be here. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys soon again. Mwah! Bye bye.